Welcome back to the Becoming Shameless podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Wallace.
I'm your host, Josiah Baines.
And today's episode is episode 7. Did you retake your test? We'll be navigating correction. So, what do you feel like is important or what qualities it requires to be able to receive correction?
The most important quality I would say is good heart posture. It really depends on where your heart is if you're able to receive correction. I know for me, it's a lot of heart checking and making sure that whenever I'm about to receive correction or something of that sort, then I'm making sure that I'm in a place where I'm able to receive. And my girlfriend would tell me that all the time. She sit there and ask me, "Are you able to receive this right now?"
Tight.
And I'll be like, "Girl, I don't even know." But sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no. But it's important to know that.
I think the most important thing, which I do think important, your heart posture is very important. I think the most important quality to have in receiving correction is humility,
Mm-hmm.
because the lack of it is what leads to people not being able to receive it. Because you have to really be okay with being wrong
Facts.
to accept correction. Because
Facts.
we live in a society, or even just in a world, where people are so in tune with themselves, quote unquote, that anything that makes them think anything less of themselves, they're just quick to rebuke it. And it's really humble to be like, I'm wrong. That takes a lot of humility, especially when you root a lot of your morals or like your beliefs in your viewpoint. And I think a lot of people lack the humility to actually receive correction.
It's definitely a hard thing to do, especially like you said when you don't really have the ability to see when you're wrong, and also when you always think you're right, and it's not really that big of a thing to point out from yourself. But I know it's countless times where you just automatically, like when somebody asks you something, and like when you were younger, your parents would be like, you know, I'm about to say, like, I already know what you about to say. I already know what you about to, like, you don't know. Like, you have to allow somebody to speak, and also, it's important that um, I'm gonna get back to that. I'm gonna get back to that later. I'm gonna get back to that later.
Yeah, I think the problem is because the human ego, because you people feel so highly about their beliefs and their opinions because you're you, but to really understand, like I said, you have to, like you said, you have to put yourself under someone's understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and that takes a lot of humility to be like, okay, this person might know more than me. They might just have my best interest in mind, because a lot of people take correction personal and they get very defensive because people take correction as an attack on their character, when if anything it takes love to tell someone the truth and correct them. But people take it as an attack on their character because a lot of people, they project their insecurities because their insecurities don't align with who they want to be and their sense of self that they already have. So a person who already feels stupid, when you correct them, they're going to think you're a know-it-all because they're not ready to receive that the fact that they may not know, because deep down they know they're ignorant, but they have to face those truths when they're corrected. And a lot of people avoid people that are willing to correct them.
It a lot of people say sometimes is a saying that people will say to themselves and say to other people is taking the meat and spitting out the bones. So somebody addresses you about something,
Mm.
and you're supposed to just take the pause. My fault. Take what is supposed to be the important part, quote unquote, that you think is the important part, and spitting out all the excess stuff. Now it gets to a point of where what is the important stuff that you actually took in. So it's like if somebody's trying to correct you and you're taking the important stuff and spitting out all the excess stuff, then you're having selective hearing at that point. So one, you have to understand who is addressing me to be corrected, because there is moments where if somebody has not, people can only take you to the last place they've people can only take you to the last place they've been. So if somebody is trying to correct you on a place where they've never been before, then it's a valid reason to say that you won't exactly listen to everything that they're saying. But like you say all the time, a broken clock is right twice a day. So making sure you're not totally dismissing what somebody is saying when they're trying to correct you, but also understanding that this person it may be trying to help me, and they may not have been where I've been, or they may not have the same kind of what's the word, background that I've had, and so it's a whole lot of facets and stuff that get into that. But
Yeah, I definitely feel like that you have to be able to deny yourself pleasure, the need to feel good. We live such in a feel good society where if someone's getting on your nerves, you get rid of them. You find somebody new. If you're dissatisfied, you're bored, put on the TV. You know what I'm saying? We're so quick to accommodate ourselves with temporary fixes,
instant gratification.
that instant gratification that we can't actually progress as an individual because growth requires uncomfortability, and a lot of people they can't handle correction because that it makes them be uncomfortable. You have to really like deal and face yourself. And I think because we live in a society that avoids that and we push this narrative of that everything's light and love, you gotta feel good. It's hard for people to receive correction because not just that, when you're always surrounded by things that make you feel good, it will provide you with a false sense of self. And so now you believe you're this high mighty person, and because someone's correcting you, it's like, who are you to tell me this? But in reality, you have to really humble yourself because ego is literally what got the devil kicked out of heaven. Just saying. And that's where people go wrong. Like I always tell you, the battle really isn't good versus evil. It's you versus your ego. And it says in the Bible, fools hate correction. Basically the wise love correction. But people are so opposed to it because they feel it's their false sense of identity. And that's what really messes everybody up.
Getting to what you said about I'm gonna say that too.
I mean, yeah. I mean, even to add on to what I was saying, like it says in the Bible, Proverbs 15, chapter 5 through 7. Fools reject their parents' correction, but anyone who accepts correction is wise. Much wealth is in the house of the good people, but evil people will get nothing but trouble. Wise people use their words to spread knowledge, but there is no knowledge in the thoughts of fools. So I think a lot of people. That's why even the saying like ignorance is bliss holds weight, because fools hate correction, and because they're not corrected, they can live in a state of blissfulness because they don't have any knowledge. And that's why I feel like we gotta stop coddling people, but also on the other spectrum, you have to kind of be understanding. Like I always say, know your audience. That's very important. And I know if we're gonna go into like how do you give someone correction, it says a gentle answer turns away wrath. I think a lot of times we're trying to check people because we're so big to be like cuss people out in the world or like go off on people and let them tell them about themselves or read them. But the moment you offend somebody, their ears turn down. They're not gonna listen no more, no matter if you're right or wrong. If you approach a situation with a gentle response, it's not gonna end up in an argument usually. Yes, it can on their end, but honestly, a gentle answer will go further than a harsh response.
When you're trying to give somebody correction, it's important that you realize that, especially if it's unsolicited correction, a lot of the times they're not going to take it. Probably 70% of the times they're not.
Did I
more
ask
than
you?
70? Exactly. Like it's gonna be like 90% of the time they're not gonna want to hear what you have to say because nobody wants unsolicited advice. Nobody wants unsolicited correction. Nobody wants to. If I, like you just said, did I ask you if when you're talking to somebody, if they don't specifically ask for you to say, what do you think about this? Or then you have the go ahead to be like, hey, you were wrong about this, and you should have done that a little bit better, or first try to ease into it and be like, hey, do you mind if before I say what I need to say, I need to preface by saying that I'm about to correct you on some stuff that you probably not gonna want to hear. So, read the book "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss if you wanna learn some of those.
I think a lot of people don't understand either the difference between a critique and correction. People just say some stuff to point stuff out, but why point out something that someone can't change or you can't help them with? Especially when it's unwarranted and no one asked for it. I feel as if don't point out something in somebody unless you can help them or assist them in fixing that issue. Or don't call it out unless they could change it in an instant. Especially when it comes to like people's physical characteristics. Like if I point out, oh, you gain weight, they can't change that instantly. Why point it out? You don't know what somebody's insecure about. And I think a lot of people, they mask, which I was talking about before, a lot of people, they mask their feelings with critiques